Kaelen tightened his grip, focusing his mind as he hurled a blast of fire toward the looming figure of the Spectral Guardian. Astra flared beside him, her form blazing brighter as she unleashed a pulse of radiant energy. The combined force struck the Guardian, and for a brief moment the creature's form wavered, its spectral cloak flickering like smoke in the wind. But the Guardian barely faltered, its hollow eyes glowing with fierce, unrelenting light. It shifted forward, raising a skeletal hand that seemed to absorb the darkness around it. Shadows stretched and twisted, wrapping around Kaelen and Astra like tendrils, dampening their light and pressing cold against their skin. Astra's glow dimmed as she struggled against the darkness, her voice tense. "Kaelen, it's stronger than we anticipated." Kaelen's heart raced, but he gritted his teeth, determined to press on. He pushed his fire to its limits, sending sparks flying as he tried to break through the Guardian's defenses. Each blow struck with force, but the creature absorbed the impact, barely flinching. Kaelen could feel his energy waning, every spell taking more out of him than the last. Suddenly, from the mist, a voice rang out, sharp, commanding, and unfamiliar. "Hold strong!" A figure burst through the haze, cloaked and fierce, her movements swift and precise as she launched a dark, shimmering bolt of energy at the Spectral Guardian. The blast connected, momentarily dispersing the shadow tendrils binding Kaelen and Astra. Kaelen barely had time to process what was happening. A stranger, a woman he'd never seen before, had come out of nowhere to fight alongside him. She moved with lethal grace, each strike aimed with purpose, her expression focused and unyielding. "Who are you?" Kaelen shouted over the clamor of the battle, but the woman didn't respond. Her eyes stayed locked on the Guardian, her face set in grim determination. "Focus on the fight, not on me," she snapped, her voice sharp. "If you want to live, you'll need to keep attacking." Kaelen's mind raced, but he knew she was right. There was no time for questions. He turned his attention back to the Guardian, joining his fire magic with Astra's radiant energy as they attacked in tandem with this mysterious ally. Together they managed to push the Guardian back, its form flickering and fading under the onslaught. The battle intensified, and Kaelen felt his strength ebbing. The Guardian was resilient, absorbing their combined attacks and retaliating with swaths of darkness. Just when Kaelen thought they might gain the upper hand, a new threat emerged. A dog-like creature, spectral and menacing, lunging from the shadows with glowing red eyes and bared fangs. The woman, whoever she was, barely dodged its attack, her blade slicing through its spectral form in a swift, practiced motion. "This isn't working," she called out to Kaelen, her voice strained. "We're only weakening it. Killing it is beyond us." Kaelen looked at Astra, who was visibly dimming, her energy nearly depleted. He could feel his own strength waning, each spell leaving him more drained. "What do we do?" "We can't defeat it," she replied, her tone urgent. "The best we can do is run, if we can weaken it enough to flee." Astra, her glow faint but steady, nodded in agreement. "Kaelen, focus on that creature. If we eliminate it, we'll have an opening to escape." With one last push, Kaelen summoned the remaining embers of his strength. He joined forces with the stranger, their attacks converging on the dog-like beast, each strike chipping away at its form. The creature snarled, lunging with spectral jaws, but Kaelen and the woman fought back with everything they had. Finally, with a powerful burst of energy from Astra, the creature let out a fading growl before dissipating into shadow, leaving only silence in its wake. The Spectral Guardian visibly dimmed, and its image faded just as quickly as it appeared. Kaelen stumbled back, panting, his vision blurring from exhaustion. Astra hovered weakly beside him, her form flickering, and the woman leaned heavily against a tree, catching her breath. "We need to get out of here," Kaelen managed to say, his voice barely more than a whisper. The woman nodded, glancing around before speaking quickly. "It'll be back soon. There's an ancient city's ruins not far from here. It was created by the ancient mages, and its wards are known to repel dark magic. If we make it there, we should be safe enough to rest." Kaelen looked at her in surprise, a dozen questions swirling in his mind. "Who are you?" "Introductions can wait," she replied, her tone brusque. "If you want to survive, follow me." Without another word, she turned and started moving through the forest. Kaelen exchanged a weary glance with Astra, then hurried to catch up, his thoughts racing as he followed the mysterious woman into the shadows. They moved as quickly as their weary bodies would allow, Kaelen casting anxious glances over his shoulder, half expecting the Spectral Guardian to materialize. But the forest was quiet, save for the whisper of leaves in the breeze. They had barely managed to survive the encounter, but Kaelen knew they weren't safe yet. As they trudged through the misty trees, the ruins of the ancient city began to come into view. Crumbling stone structures, overgrown with moss and vines, stood like silent sentinels amidst the forest. Despite their decayed state, the ruins exuded a strange, calming energy, a faint hum of magic that seemed to repel the shadows around them. "This place was built to ward off darkness," the woman said, her gaze sweeping over the stones with an expression Kaelen couldn't quite read, some mixture of reverence and relief. Together they crossed into the sanctuary, each step easing the tension that had clung to them like a shroud. Kaelen sank to the ground, leaning against a weathered pillar as he tried to catch his breath. Astra settled beside him, her light dim but steady, her presence a comforting warmth. The woman glanced at him, her face unreadable in the shadows. "Next time, don't be so quick to rush in," she said, a hint of reprimand in her voice. But there was something else there, too, something softer, almost protective. Kaelen nodded, too exhausted to argue. The battle had shaken him, but he knew they'd barely scratched the surface of the dangers lurking in Shimmerwood. And yet, with Astra, and now this mysterious stranger, by his side, he felt a renewed sense of resolve. They would rest for now, gathering their strength within the safety of the ancient ruins. But when the time came, Kaelen knew he would face the shadows again, and he would be ready.